Now, I know I told you guys in the last reaction video that I wouldn't post any more on this channel and that going forward, the rest of them will be on my fourth channel, G Reacts. However, when I watched the first couple minutes of this video and then I saw how big this person's channel is, I knew I had to make a video on it. This person needs more recognition. And plus, just from the first 2 minutes that I watched, I completely agree with everything that was said in this video, and I feel like it could help for some others that are unsure as to if they actually want to play Dark Souls, because I know there's a lot of people that watch this channel that actually haven't played a Souls game before and just watch my content for the fun of it. So before we get into this video, please go over to his channel, subscribe, like, do all that stuff, drop a comment on the video, because if it wasn't for this person making this video, well then we wouldn't be making this video right now. Real quick before we get into this, no, this isn't your stereotypical YouTube reaction. I do reactions quite a bit differently. We watch the video, we pause throughout, we make a few analytical points and start up some conversations. So don't worry, you're not in for the usual blank-faced, boring reaction. But without any further ado, let's get into the video. Dark Souls is for everyone. That's coming from Frogwater on YouTube. It'll be the top link in the description, by the way.
Have you ever heard of the reputation of Dark Souls and thought, that's too much for me?
Yes!
I don't need that kind of stress in my life.
That was me!
I don't want to spend hours learning the game to see if I'll even like it.
That was me for 10 years.
Then this video
until this last October.
I thought the exact same thing when I started, but I was totally wrong in assuming I'll feel a specific way. I think Dark Souls gets far too much credit as a skill test of a game, and I don't think it was made with hardcore gamers in mind.
I agree.
It was created for an interesting, terrifying, beautiful, and mysterious experience. Everyone should try Dark Souls.
I 100% agree with that. I hate when the hardcore elitists are like, these games are supposed to be difficult. It's all about the difficulty. You can't use strength. You can't use arcane. You can't use dex. You can't use int. You can't use faith. It's like, dog, what can I use that is valid in your opinion? And furthermore, why does it need to be this overly difficult thing? Like, if it's in the game, From Software took the time to develop it to put it in the game. Therefore, it's meant to be in the game. People get so sucked up in the hard difficulty of Dark Souls. They take it to an even further extent to inflict these challenges on themselves and think that everyone else should inflict these challenges on themselves to make it as hard as it can be. Now, I'm not saying that challenges are a bad thing. I like challenge runs and I think they're fun. It's a great way to increase the replayability of the game. And in fact, me myself, I have done challenge runs in the past. However, I hate when those players take that mindset and try to inflict it on every other player and invalidate their way of play, even if those players are new and they don't know any better. I'll stop this tangent before it becomes like an hour-long thing. But if it's in the game, it's completely valid. Do not let anybody else tell you otherwise.
Back in halfway through 2022, I was watching my buddy play Dark Souls for the first time, and he reminded me of what I was thinking when I went through the same problems. I just fell in love with the game again.
I love watching people play for the first time.
Playthroughs to get more of it, because I'll never play Dark Souls again for the first time. And that really is the best part of
the first time experience for Dark Souls is it's truly magical. It's something that it's very few games can replicate that feeling of playing it for the first time. Like, playing a game for the first time, in my opinion, will always be magical no matter what game it is. But Dark Souls, there's something about it, especially if it's your first Souls-like game. It's just Dark Souls 1 out of any Souls game, I feel like does the best of just drawing you into that world, pulling you into the genre, and it's such a magical feeling. It's so magical, in fact, that I cried by the time the credits rolled. It's an amazing experience.
Demon's Souls, the first venture into what will be
I love Demon's Souls. Second favorite Souls game right behind DS1.
Japan. Far too difficult, obtuse game design, strange button layout, no pausing, confusing story, and unforgiving gameplay. It also did surprisingly well in the West with unique gameplay, dark fantasy aesthetics, atmospheric exploration, mysterious and well-connected story, and again, unforgiving.
Yeah, it's crazy how this game flopped so hard in Japan, yet as soon as it was released in America, it did so well for itself, because it was just a difference of perspective. Because in the West, at that point, everybody was sick of all the same releases, they were ready for something new, and then they got Demon's Souls, and it was that something new, and everybody loved it.
It was fresh.
Whereas in Japan, it just
samey titles of the same year.
Yeah.
Success was unexpected from FromSoft. They didn't expect much from this game.
It's crazy that this game didn't do well in Japan and did better over here.
Director Bandai Namco quickly partnered with the FromSoft team to publish
Thank you, Bandai Namco, for all the wrong you've done.
Streamers, gaming YouTubers, Let's Players.
This is one of the best things they've done.
It can massively boost a game's popularity. It's no secret that if someone like Markiplier had a fun time playing your game, you were about to get a huge influx of new and impressionable young people. It's similar to how horror games are easy to react to.
The new horror wave. I hate this.
Thumbnails, easy videos, massive.
I hate the new horror wave. Like, all of this stuff, all the clickbait thumbnails, like, scary, spooky horror game. I mean, do what you gotta do. Change chase that bag, get your money, you know, the adpocalypse, it's hard to survive. Heck, even I've been guilty of it from time to time, but that doesn't change my opinion on it. I hate this horror wave.
Games like Cat Mario, I Want to Be the Guy, and Happy Wheels were massively popular for being games that just made YouTubers die and scream.
And then Dark Souls got lumped in with
For the
that.
sake of being difficult, of course some people are going to mistake this other viral video game for something similar if they don't sit down and play it.
Why? Hold on a minute. I just realized the lighting of my face cam has been off. Oh no, it's because I left the lamp on. I usually turn that off. Dang it. How's that? Is the lighting? It looks a little bit better. It's better than it was. My bad, y'all.
It also must feel really fucking good for people who have completed Demon and Dark Souls, having those online worship it as the holy grail of skill testing, pushing that message that Dark Souls is the true gamer's game, the elite, the salty spittoon, is really not all that. It's hard, but what I mean to say, it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
I want to shed light on it because I believe...
See, from the outside looking in, Dark Souls is just a hard game because hard, but when you actually play the game, there's so much more to it. There's so much to the world, the lore, it's so much more than the difficulty. That's what I've been trying to say with the hardcore players. They think the difficulty is what makes these games, when in reality, that couldn't be further from the truth. I don't play these games for the difficulty. I play it for quite literally everything else besides the difficulty, if I'm being honest. I play it for the fact that it's challenging, but I don't play for the absolutely brutal BS feeling moments,
difficulty.
Oh, wait, hold up a minute. Look at that. He has some music from Jet Set Radio here. That is awesome. That game is absolutely phenomenal. So underrated. It's so good seeing people still reference
is
it.
Obviously the hottest topic and probably the biggest barrier to entry.
Most
People
definitely.
arguing that the difficulty is unnecessary and others saying it is essential to the experience.
It's definitely essential to the experience. The game's current level of difficulty is most certainly essential to the experience. It's just not to the degree that everybody else makes it out to be, if that makes sense. The way I see Dark Souls, it's a tough but fair experience. It's not some overly brutal, you're gonna die a million times type of experience. No, it's tough, but it's fair. You can do it. You can overcome it. Well, sure, yes, every player is gonna see you died at least 10 million times during their playthrough. That doesn't mean that that's all that the experience is, because to say that that's all that it is would be very degrading and just simply not true.
Dark Souls is a fairly difficult game, but it's also just fair. Usually. Pressing a button in Dark Souls queues up an animation. Once the animation queues up,
I'm
you
glad
are
that he's
stuck
talking
doing
about
that
this.
animation for a short period of time. These are the times you are going to get hit the most, whether you misread an opportunity for a hit, drink, roll, whatever, or enter to miss it.
That's why I love Dark Souls 1 the most.
Intimidating, but you start to realize that this game is kind of slow. Like, look at this big goofer. I could spoil this one because he's like the tutorial boss.
Yeah.
Now look at him swing. I just stood there and got fucking rocked. But why didn't you move, video voice, to prove a point? Now, look at this time. Check this out.
Iframes. Yep.
You just saw my model phase through his hammer. But why?
Yeah.
Iframes, short for invincibility frames. A short period of time where you are invincible. In Dark Souls, you get iframes right when you start your roll.
Yeah.
You can also get behind him, and he has
Let me just say though, trying to do a full dodging playthrough on Dark Souls 1, that is nothing short of a nightmare on your first go-through, at least. I'm glad that he's talking about, like, the whole iframes and how that gameplay mechanic works. One thing a lot of people need to remember about Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls, and this has been a complaint that I've been hearing for as long as I've been playing Souls games now. It's where these Dark Souls 3 and, well, not even Dark Souls 3, I'd say, like, probably Bloodborne and onwards. Like, those Bloodborne, Souls 3, Elden Ring noobs, they're all like, oh, Souls are roll-to-win games. You gotta roll. All of these games are about dodging and winning. But in reality, if you had any idea how game design works, and if you've even taken the time to play Dark Souls 1 or Demon Souls, you would know these games were built around the slow, calculated, methodical sword and shield combat. Is it the only way to play the game? Of course not. You can beat the entire game just by dodging. In fact, my most recent playthrough, that's basically how I did it. But in terms of like overall combat mechanics, you can tell just when you're playing it. It was built around that slow and calculated sword and shield combat. And that's what I miss about DS1. And that's part of why I like DS1 and Demon Souls more than the new entries, because I'm not trying to be too degrading about the newer entries from like Bloodborne and onwards, but you have to admit, I'm not even going to count Dark Souls 2 because there was no challenging bosses in that one, but from like Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, Elden Ring, well, less Sekiro. Sekiro actually still kind of had a bit of this element, but for Bloodborne, Souls 3, and Elden Ring, it just lost something with the combat that the original games had. Like with the original games, it was, like I said, it's a slow, calculated, methodical battle to the death. You're managing your stamina bar. Okay, when do I put on my shield? When do I back up? When do I need to regen? When can I heal? Can I attack here, or should I wait for that one attack when I'm actually able to get that hit in? What attacks can I actually block? Which ones can I I dodge. It was like you were doing all these mini calculations in your head throughout the entire battle. Whereas with like Bloodborne and onwards, anytime I'm playing those games, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm just thinking, okay, he's gonna attack, I'm gonna dodge this way, okay? We got the Nameless King timings going on here for some reason, so we're gonna wait, delayed attack, boom, now we're gonna dodge. And it's just, I don't know, there's something about the combat that got lost, especially in something like Elden Ring. You don't even have to manage your stamina. Your stamina goes like halfway across the screen in that game. It's weird because as much as the battles have gotten more complex over time, I feel like they've gotten less complex in a way. They went from being these methodical, calculated battles to more just being, okay, when do I roll? Where am I rolling? And there's not much more to it. Like, I find myself thinking a lot more with the original Souls balls as compared to the new ones. I know that's such a random side tangent and completely unrelated to the video, but I just needed to get that off my chest. I've been thinking about that for a while. Like I said, with these reaction videos, we do things a bit differently here. We go off and do our own discussions.
Around and hit you, or is forced to use his only move that attacks behind him, which is a butt slam.
The butt slam!
The bread and butter of Dark Souls largely consists of timing and positioning. Not
Fun fact, this Asylum Demon is just a remastered version of Vanguard Demon from Demon Souls.
Test your limits, sure, but the
moves and everything are basically the exact same,
spacing,
including the butt slam.
Memory. The definitive version of the game is called Prepare to Die Edition. I know I'm stealing this from someone, I just can't remember who, sorry, but that is not a warning. That is advice.
That's a promise.
You need to try every now and again to see that new animation. And wouldn't you know it, a lot of bosses have more than a couple of them. That's why this game is so notoriously hard. You can't transfer
the
skills
JJ
from
monster
another
can
game
eat
to
you?
this one, like most shooters, because this one requires special attention to enemy-specific animation.
I've honestly never seen that animation before. I didn't know that existed. I mean, the Gaping Dragon was so easy for me. I've literally beaten it first try out every playthrough and just did the same cheese strategy of waiting for it to fall over and hitting it in the butt. I've never actually, like, fought it head on.
To expect you to reflexively dodge every new enemy in the game is unreasonable.
Yeah.
And is never asked of you. So hold this L, because L's stand for lessons, and you'll need it for next time.
Definitely. Yeah. Death is a lesson in these games. You're only ever supposed to gain from death.
Contrary to the sheer number of tier lists talking about the correct weapons, stats, armors, spells, and countless guides out there for new players, if you were completely isolated from it all, you would still find a special class and build all on your own. Something more fun than the rest.
I can vouch for that because I used 0 guides to go through Demon Souls, and by the time that I beat the game with the build that I had, I was looking online to see if anybody else ever took on a similar build with that weapon, and nobody even had anything remotely close to what I was using. I was using such a weird combination of things, but it worked. It got me through the game, and I still had a great time.
Makes sense to you. Even today, it feels like Dark Souls provides a surprising amount of customizability in how you play.
Fashion Souls!
Yeah, a lot of modern games include skill trees, different types of loot, abilities, and you probably already know that half of the time, for big AAA titles, they don't feel like anything special, like, who the fuck actually cares about getting an ability that gives you more farming in Far Cry? The game creates its own problem with
The skill points literally, like, they just allow you to play the game less, basically. Every time you get a skill point like this that gives you double rewards for looting up animals or plants, it's just telling you to play the game less.
Often you need to go collect things, and just for you to work to decrease the time doing it, that is an anti-video game.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Quicker with extra steps. Who cares about a dumbass ability in Cyberpunk that gives extra passive damage?
Hey, don't diss Cyberpunk. I love Cyberpunk, okay? But it's completely valid. It's valid.
The
It's valid.
gameplay in any way. Most of it just doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
There are stat increases when you level. This is true, but it is made interesting with the idea.
Could you imagine trying to do this without guides? Like, I know there's definitely players out there that have, and in my original playthrough, I was one of those players that was trying to do it blind, and oh god, I put some stats in some very questionable places.
that once you level that stat, you're stuck with it. As you go through the game, you start seeing weapons and abilities that require certain stats.
The epitome of Dark Souls 1, having the same weapon.
Character, or you could stick
like
it out.
100 different times.
Build work and eventually level out of this uncomfortable build you're rocking. My first playthrough, I had like absolutely no help. I tossed like 15 levels into Resistance. And if you don't know, that is like one of the worst things you could level in Dark Souls 1.
I've never leveled a Resistance in Dark Souls 1. You poor soul. No pun intended. Well, you know what, pun intended, but oh man.
Stats. when you could just get better stat gains from just armor.
Armor.
You also get a few resistances just by leveling anything.
Exactly.
Despite this, I still had a lot of fun going through the game.
Oh, man.
Taking down dudes with my high strength build. I thought I was doing amazing with
Strength
my
builds for the win.
character. I just
Oonga boonga.
stood away
Buff
from
Asian boy.
watching videos and how to min-max it. You can use any weapon to endgame so long as it feels good to you.
I used the battle axe in my original
Trying to
playthrough.
efficiently
Until the
construct
end of
your
the game.
character is more of a challenge for a second playthrough, if you feel like going another round. The point is, the RPG elements in Dark Souls may seem like a convoluted mess.
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
is
for a
all
first-time
there.
playthrough, it's definitely, even the way that the levels are described inside of the menu, it's not described very well. I know that's how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be hand-holdy. It's supposed to be indirect. You're supposed to figure it out for yourself. But I mean, would it really hurt to tell me what these stats are actually doing? Like, they're so indirect to a point of where it's almost misleading sometimes, and I just wish that things could be fleshed out a little bit more. I mean, now that I understand the game, it's not a huge complaint, but still, for a newbie, would be
For the
nice.
sake of a personal experience.
I feel like Elden Ring did a bit better with it, though. I will say that.
You just go with what feels right. You'll have a fairly unique and, I think, an unforgettable time.
Oh, yeah.
The number of playstyles depend on the player's mindset and skill level, the number of different weapons or
I've
spell combinations.
I've never seen mage gameplay in Dark. I've never done a mage build in Dark Souls 1, let alone watch gameplay of it. It was Dark Bead. Is this like Dark Magic? I've never seen mage gameplay in Dark Souls 1.
Number of armor sets.
I almost want to do like a playthrough just doing a mage. Like, can I beat Dark Souls 1 as a mage? I'll probably make like a mini-series or something on it, since, you know, Dark Souls 1 is my favorite Souls game of all time, so I'm always looking for another excuse to play it or make videos on it.
Not interest someone, which affects the rolling speed. All of these choices
This looks so cool.
lead to an experience that is in all likelihood
I've never
far
seen Dark Souls
different
1
from your friends. My buddy was, for some reason, enamored with the idea of having a bow in Dark Souls.
Really?
This was so odd to me because I look at a bow and I think of a pea shooter, a niche. But
The only
cute
reason you'd
weapon.
use a bow in Dark Souls 1 is to what? Shoot the tail off the dragon, get the Drake sword, give yourself a easy first half of the game, maybe?
with limited practicality in the game.
I've
I
always
saw
wondered
him
that.
use
I've
those-
talked to people about that. Like, is there anybody that's actually done an archer build before? I've always wanted to actually, like, at least try it, because in RPGs like this, you think like a Dragon's Dogma or something along those lines. I've always enjoyed archer characters and archer builds. I was always curious as to if you could actually beat, like, Dark Souls. I mean, I know you technically could beat Dark Souls with it, but I wonder how viable it would actually be. So cool seeing unique builds like this, especially from new players. Think like players like me and, you know, any other experienced player, you would never think to do a build like this, but a new player, like, hey, a bow and arrow, that looks cool, fits in with, like, the medieval fantasy setting.
Barrels, those items, those spells, dozens, maybe hundreds more times than I would ever think to, and he created a gameplay loop for himself which involved scouting out the enemy, sniping what he could, throwing a fireball as they approach, and cutting them down with his scimitar to finish them off.
Wow!
He even finished off a few bosses with the bow to keep his distance to make sure he won. The way he played created a different first-time experience with a wildly different strategy. It was just a different game to mine.
That is
because
so
of that
cool.
careful and methodical approach, he found secret passages I didn't even know existed.
I wouldn't ever think to
Again,
play like that.
I don't want to show them to you because you might just remember them and take them without discovering them yourself.
Yeah, good
but
idea.
Just when I think the game is going to be tedious because of how he played,
It works. It rewards him
being
for it.
different. It's like that with morality in the game too, which I adore. The game does not punish players for killing any NPC they see. Actually,
You get the
it rewards you
Uchigatana for killing
having
him.
the gall to do something different. Oh, did you kill the merchant because you're an asshole? You wanted to see what he would say when you attacked him because he had a funny voice?
Oh, thank you. Gone mad, eh?
Or just wanted to see what he would drop?
Alright.
That's cool, dude. Take this super rare sword. Even the story itself
Yeah.
was designed with a unique player experience in mind. You may have heard that Dark Souls games and their stories are far too convoluted for anyone to follow and reasonably appreciate, but I'd like to disagree with the sentiment. Not that it's convoluted or vague, it definitely is. I'd like to disagree with the idea that you can't appreciate the story because of this.
You definitely
Without
can.
spoiling
Even on my
anything.
first playthrough, I was able to follow along with what was happening just fine. I did not read any item descriptions. I only watched cutscenes and listened to dialogue. I was able to follow along with like the main plot of what was happening just fine.
The game drip feeds you its story through brief bits of dialogue,
Yeah.
visuals, item descriptions. Even the least perceptive players can see this town of aggressive and starving dogs, undead with outfits that are supposed to
Screw lower
appear like
undead
thieves,
bird.
and pyres burning in the street. You should be thinking, wow, this place fucking sucks. And
Yeah, it does. It does. You walk through here, you get mauled by dogs, you get jumped by a bunch of thieves. Look, on repeat playthroughs, it ain't too bad, but on the first playthrough, ooh, especially when you have to run all the way through here to get back to Capra Demon.
that's all you really need to be feeling at that moment. If you want more complexity, it's all there for you to find, although it'll take some sleuthing and assuming on your part.
Yeah.
Depending on what you do and where you go at what time in the story, you will meet people and progress several different storylines aside from your own. I don't want to spoil anything just in case,
I
but
love Onion
how
Knight.
you view the story will be dependent on what characters you meet and how deep you get into their storylines.
Yeah.
I will say though, it's possible on a first playthrough to just not meet a lot of side characters. I love this game head to toe, including the flaws. It's not perfect in any way. Regardless, this
And no game
my
is.
main
No game
pick
should be perfect. The flaws are
for
what make it
everyone to
beautiful.
Try out the game, but there's more about the game that I deeply adore and want to share.
Wait, I take that back. I said the flaws are what make it beautiful. Then, you know, you look at Dark Souls 2 and that game is pure flaws, not very beautiful. The flaws add to the beauty of the game. The game is beautiful and nice on its own, but, you know, the flaws, the nice little quirks, it can add to the experience sometimes. Make it stand out. Just not when the whole game is flawed. I'm kidding. I actually like ES2. Just gotta say it for the memes.
The presentation doesn't really fit the theme of Dark Souls is for everyone, so here it is at the end. The game is beautiful. The art direction is gorgeous, to a point where you could forget that you're looking at these charming low-poly environments and models while you're swept up in the moment.
It holds up.
I don't want to spoil anything.
Art
either,
direction
so
over graphics. Art direction is forever. Graphics are temporary.
You'll have to take my word, sadly, but the music ranges from grand and iconic to the more subtle moments.
Music
between
is
larger set
fantastic.
pieces. You're listening to Firelink Shrine's theme right now, and if you've never been to Firelink Shrine, let me describe it. The warm colors of a fire draw your eyes to a cleared patch of land among the ruins around you.
Man, I'm getting chills. This is
The
great.
weary and the ponderous gather in their own little corners before their next chosen journey. Into the distance you can see the cold and unfeeling walls of Anar Londo, the twisted depths below, plagued by all manner of grotesque,
He said the thing! He said the thing!
and paths leading to who knows where, guarded by the dead. Somehow this place feels like an island, a reprieve from everything arduous and unknown. A brief glimpse around the faces that find themselves here, and you take your seat at the familiar warmth of the fire.
Woo! Instant chills, baby. Oh my gosh. Thanks for watching. Wow, what a fantastic video. Like, more videos soon. Does he have any other videos on his channel? Later. Oh man, this video is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, please go subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like button, leave a comment. I'll leave a comment right now. I said, great video. Keep up the amazing work. Can't wait for more. We'll comment that. Like I said, please go over there and give him some love. He only has like 68 subscribers right now, which is insane. From a video that is a fraction of the size of my channel, he is making content that is like 100 billion times better than mine ever will be. So please go give him some love. Yeah, like the title of this video says, and like he was describing in this video as he was kind of giving like his analysis of the game, Dark Souls is for everyone, and if you haven't played it before, please give it a chance, because you are, by not playing the game, you're simply doing it to yourself. You're just making yourself miss out on a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Wonder what, oh, he only has like 5 other videos. He did like a bunch of mini reviews, it seems. I'll definitely be checking, oh, and he also has a second channel. Frogwater 2 has 19 subscribers. Looks like he's doing some gameplay over here. I'll subscribe to that one as well. Please go give both of his channels some love. But anyways, now I want to hear from you guys. What are your guys' opinions on this video? What are your thoughts on it? Do you think Dark Souls is for everyone? But anyway, as always, a shout out to the patrons and channel members: Karma's Fake Grandma, Lubity Tab, Big Daddy Matty, Chalupasaurus Rex, Razak Polar, Raider Webster, Lamasi Bianca, Spiritory, Jupiter, Mel Alaskan, Computer Magic, Mason Irving, TJ Y15, Flame 71, Aaron Reynolds, and Unknown. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. And remember, don't go hollow. Peace.